Hello and welcome to the Following On Cricket Podcast with talkSPORT. It's Sam Ellard and the double Ashes winner Steve Harmison rounding up everything that happened on day two of the third test match between Pakistan and England in Rawalpindi. With Pakistan 177 for 7, England would have been really happy with where they were at. But things moved along very quickly. Pakistan putting on 167 for the final 3 wickets. Shakil held everything together quite magnificently. He played beautifully for 134. And then the spin twins, who have been brilliant with the ball, were really good with the bat. Norman Ali made 45. Sujit Khan made 48 to frustrate England. In the end, Pakistan being bowled out for 344. So a first innings lead for them of 77. England, though, doing themselves no favours with the ball. 9 overs England had to see out with the bat. They closed 3 down for 24. Crawley, Duckett and Pope out. So it means England trailing by 53 runs with 7 wickets in hand. They are in all sorts of trouble. So much to get through on today's episode of the Following On. Harmy, let's just put this bluntly, my friend. That for England was an absolute disaster.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. It was a disaster for a session, maybe a session and a half. I mean, I got up 6 o'clock this morning thinking, you know what, England have got a chance here. I didn't, a chance to really win this game in 3 days, ram home the advantage, hold Pakistan out if they kept their disciplines well for a good lead. And if England had got a lead, that's it. Like we said at the end of the show last night, if England get a 30-41 lead, that's it. Game over. There's nowhere in the world on this wicket, back and forth, you could possibly chase over 150, 180. And first session, so far so good. Thinking, right, I mean, it's game over for Pakistan. England have got it right where they want them. Rian Ahmed bowled beautifully in that first session. And, you can have a look at Bazball, you can have a look at the way England play, and you can scratch your head sometimes because they have scratch your head moments. But the selectors get it right, I mean, 99% of the time. I mean, the decisions they make to pick a side and identify a side for the surface and pick the person coming in, whether he's got 13 wickets and averages 66 in first-class cricket this year, and you're not played for a year in Test cricket. Even the likes of Josh Hull, who was averaging 70 when he came in the summer, they get the team spot on. And I thought at lunchtime, you know what, England just need one good session and it's finished. It's game over. Lunchtime tomorrow, and Pakistan are done. And then all of a sudden they just lost their way a little bit. I mean, disciplines they weren't exactly the same in the first session as the second session with the ball. I mean, they drop short. They drop, Shakil on 26. Then they get a DRS goal that, Pakistan's way. Then all of a sudden the momentum shifted, and fair play to Pakistan. So Shakil, he batted beautifully. He really did. On a wicket which then became, I mean, you took a chance and you became aggressive and you became a positive with your movements. Like I said yesterday, the minute you start becoming indecisive for your movements, you're gone on this surface. You go all the way forward or you go all the way back and play with a straight bat. The minute you play with a cross bat or a horizontal bat or an angled bat, on this surface, you're gone. And I thought Shakil played brilliantly. And then the 2 spinners, like you mentioned, came out and, the chanced their arm. They had a go. They slugged it. They tried to hit it straight. And then England just didn't know how to stem the tide. They didn't know how to stop the boundaries. And all of a sudden, within 3 hours, Pakistan have gone from being out of the game to very, very much in it. And I still thought at tea time, Sam, I still thought England were the team were going to win the game. I thought still at tea time, England are winning this game. What were they were probably not quite parallel when it comes to the run scoring. I think they were still in deficit was Pakistan. And England, you're thinking England are going to bat, Pakistan are going to bat last on this. So with England even only 20 behind, 30 behind, still wouldn't fancy batting last on this. And then to get the lead they got, what was it, a 90-run lead? That was massive. And it's just a shame that the day ended the way it did.
So 177 for 7 though, Harmy. England were going okay, but the wheels came off really quickly. There was a moment in the game where Shakil and Sajid put on 50 in 5 overs. That was after Shakil and Noman Ali put on 88 for the 8th wicket. There was a period of 25 overs where Pakistan made 132 for 1. Certainly we saw Shakil Harmy. It just looked too easy for him to pick up singles, to pick up twos. That game got away from England in the field too easily, Harmy. When you were watching that, what would you like to have seen Ben Stokes have done a little bit differently to try and stop the tail wagging and to try and break those partnerships?
It's very hard, Sam. It's very, very hard in them situations to grab 5 minutes because the heat, the emotion, everything that goes with it many, many times. I mean, so many times you fall out, as bowlers, you fall out with batters. I mean, how many times? I mean, I must have fallen out with Kevin Peterson so many times. He's shouting at the top of his voice, will you bowl at the stumps? And I'm like, a bowl at stumps, he hits it, he defends it. If I bowl wide at the stumps, he misses it. And if I bowl at Fuller and try and entice him to that sort of juicy half volley that he's going to try and nick, if he has his day, he smashes it for 4 or he hits it for 6.
I tell you what, you're out there slogging it. You're out there slogging it in the heat in Pakistan on a wicket doing nothing. The last thing you want is KP in your ear giving it the big one, right?
Yeah, but it's frustration. A lot of it is frustration. A lot of it is bowlers are trying their best. And I mean, in international cricket, as a bowler, especially as a seam bowler, you're not taught to bowl at the stumps. You're not, because if you were to bowl at the stumps at Ricky Ponting or Matthew Hayden or, I mean, some of the best players in the world, Sachin and all that, they'd hit you through mid-wicket like an absolute exocet. You're trained to bowl just outside the stumps. But when you bowl at somebody just outside the stumps who's not very good batting-wise, who just plays down the line and, as long as he doesn't push away from it, 9 times out of 10, he misses it. And then you as a bowler have to go searching. This is where Anderson and Broad and all them have been, McGrath, Warren, all them bowlers that have got ridiculous records have got, because all they've done is they just keep it in the line, they keep it in the length, and they basically say, well, eventually you will nick one and we're not going to let you score. But young bowlers who are naive and young bowlers are trying to force their way and young bowlers or inexperienced bowlers who have not been in situations before get gobbled up. They get gobbled up. So as much as I want to be critical of Bashir and Atkinson and Rian Ahmed, I really can't, because they're trying something and they put it in an area and they get whacked out of the park. If they were put in a good area, the batter would miss it. A tail end batter would miss it. And that for me that's how frustrating it is bowling at the tail. It really is. As many times I've stood there with a bat and going, if you hit the top of off stump, there's a good chance I'll miss it. But if you bowl in a good channel, I'm not good enough to hit it. But if then all of a sudden you go searching and you bowl a short ball, I might be able to hit that one and it might fly off 4. All of a sudden, steam coming out of his ears, mid-on and mid-offs, coming over, giving him some advice. You've got to try this. You go a bit fuller, bang, straight back over his head. Mid-on and mid-off then disappear because they go, well, I'm just trying to tell you bowl fuller and you've just been hit for 4. And you're looking at mid-on and mid-off going, do one. I mean, all this goes through a mind of a bowler. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why bowling is brilliant, because it's not an exact science. You could bowl a ball 6 out of 6 in one spot. In 6 different things can happen. And a lot of the time with a tail, anything can happen. And look at the way Pakistan played on that surface. I mean, they chanced their arm. They were decisive with their decision-making. They came at the ball, they hit the ball, and they wanted to go, to try and score. When you look at, flip that over 25 minutes later when England came out to bat, Duckett got caught sort of going with his arms, going with his legs, going with his head, going with his body and his bat, and it wasn't all in sync, a little indecision, and it just snuck through. And it was a good ball because, I mean, from Ben Duckett's point of view, he's looking and thinking this is going to turn, and it didn't turn. It just went straight on with the arm. It was a lovely bit of bowling, but a little bit of indecision of where, because of his first innings dismissal of keeping low, he's like, I'm going forward. I'm not really comfortable sweeping on it. I'm not sure the bounce. Going forward, no problem with Ben Duckett, but he was a little bit indecisive. Ollie Pope the same. He went, then his bat went, and all of a sudden he got that one that just bounced a little bit, and he's feathered it to behind. And the same as that Crawley. He's gone. He's planted his foot. As soon as he's planted his foot, then his bat's gone. Again, indecision. He's not played down the right line. He's missed it, and he's out. So it might actually be better that but players who play for turn or play down one line, I mean, this way, the way the wicket is, it's not exactly consistent. So England going at it first thing tomorrow morning might not be a bad ploy to get themselves back in the game and chance themselves that 2 or 3 of them might get in. Because I think the wicket is a difficult wicket to bat on. I don't think it's a minefield by any stretch. I think if you can get in, you can get used to the pace of it and get used to your movements in sync, I still think you can score on it, and that's what Shaquille did.
Harmy, I've just gone onto Twitter, and trending number 2 in the UK is Ollie Pope. And you can imagine some of the stuff that's being said. He's taking lots of criticism. You mentioned there another low score for him. I saw this stat on Twitter, Harmy. He's played 91 Test innings and been dismissed within 20 balls on 37 occasions. That's what 1 of 3. And he's been dismissed within 30 balls on 49 occasions. That's nearly every other Test match innings. I think we spoke yesterday about maybe from the team point of view, how much pressure is he under? Is there a better option? We mentioned Cox maybe. From Ollie Pope's point of view, Harmy, is there any way here that, he's playing lots of cricket, he's had the captaincy, over the past couple of months, he's had lots of criticism. Is there maybe a possibility here that maybe what's best for Ollie Pope is a break, maybe miss out New Zealand series, almost get away, have a month off, come back fresh in 2025? Or do you still think, no, Ollie Pope, number 3, first test match New Zealand, he's there?
Yeah, I'd still pick Ollie. I think he's not the only one. I think consistency is, when he gets in, he gets big runs. And that's why a lot of people have a go at the frantic nature of Ollie Pope in the first 3. First 30 balls, batting at number 3. And that's why he's probably more suited at number 4 and number 5. And that's where he would run a bat. But you'd argue he's taking one for the team.
Could Stokes bat 3, Harmy, and Pope? I mean, could there be a change there? Stokes goes to 3, Pope goes lower down the order. Is that? I mean, if Ben Stokes isn't bowling that much, is that not something that could happen? Does Ben Stokes not have? He looks a much more organised player, technically sound player, to start at number 3 than Pope. Is that not an option England could consider?
Could possibly consider, but Ben Stokes is not in exactly great form either when it comes to the batting point of view. I think there's an argument. There is possibly, Sam, there's an argument that Jamie Smith goes above Ben Stokes at 6. Ben Stokes goes to number 7. Ben Stokes has talked about having a wicketkeeper who can bat with the tail and be aggressive and understand, a bit like what Ben Stokes would want to achieve himself as somebody that wants to bat with the tail. So there's an argument that if Smith goes and gets another big score, another couple of big scores, a bit like Alex Stewart when I was playing, it was Andrew Flintoff was a competent number 6, not a problem at all. But you had Stewie, because you had Stewie as a keeper, there was no reason why, and it wasn't a knock, it was an understanding that the aggressive nature of Flintoff was probably more suited batting at 7 than he would. So that might be an option. He could bat 3, technically, he's still very, very good, Ben. He's not scoring the runs that he probably would like. Having been injured, it would be a bit of an ask. But then you're going to a part of the world, and once this Test match is finished, we need Ben Stokes to bowl more than anything else to marry up the seam bowling and you've got these 3 Test matches against New Zealand where you'd think Ben Stokes would be needed more and he'd suit more when it comes to the ball, and then you've got the Big 10 Test matches, India and Australia, where you need your talisman all-rounder. So having him at 3, bowling and captaincy, that would just be a no-no. So at the end of the day, it's no point moving Ollie Pope if you've got somebody to replace him. Yes, the hard part for Ollie is trying to find a way of getting past them 30 balls, and at the minute, it doesn't look good, and it hasn't looked good. But I'd still stick with Ollie Pope. More the fact that there's nobody else in and around that group. We're going to see Cox, and let's see where Cox goes and how he goes. And if he goes well in them 3 Test matches in New Zealand, there's an option. And it's like I said, right at the very top of this show, the selectors have been brilliant. Absolutely first class at their decision making. Whatever anybody thinks of Bazball, scratch head moments, have their time against big teams, that's a different opinion. This selection panel have made the right decisions more often than not. You look at Zach Crawley, everything you just said, everybody said that for about a year with Zach Crawley, and look how Zach Crawley's turned out.
Very good point.
So I think for me at this minute in time, Is there another player in England as good as Ollie Pope? I'd say no. How do I get the best out of Ollie Pope? That's something I need to work out from a coach and a selector's point of view.
That's why I suggested a break, Harmy.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you suggest the break. Where does then the break go? For me, at this minute in time, once he's done with New Zealand on the 21st of December, he ain't playing again until Surrey, when Surrey come around again. So you'll get his break then. You've just had 7 test matches with him as captain. I'd give the kid a little bit of slack. I come back to the fact that I will only drop somebody if there's somebody out there I believe is better than Ollie Pope. At this minute in time, as a player, not too much form, because there's probably somebody else better in form, but as a player, I think Ollie Pope is still one of the best players we've got. So I'll stick with him this short period of time.
They always use the phrase like high ceiling, don't they? They all sort of say, they say, forget about the 30 balls. We've seen with that knock in India, we've seen what Ollie Pope can do, and his ceiling's probably higher than what else they've got in county cricket. So I think the Crawley comparison is a good one, because I think lots of England fans and pundits would have had Zach Crawley dropped 3 times, but Bazball stuck with him, and he sort of last year probably had his best year. Harmy, Pakistan's problems going into this series were really well documented with their bad form. They lost the first test match, and there were selection problems and people being dropped and pitch drama and everything. Let's give them some credit, Harmy, because goodness me, they could have easily just folded and lost their test series 3-0. But I mean, from the spinners causing trouble, some batsmen stepping up and putting in some big hundreds, the lower order fighting with the bat. I mean, they've given they were 1-0 down and they were a bit of a laughing stock around the world. Credit where credit's due, because they've been bloody fantastic post first test match.
Yeah, 100%. And even in the first test match, Sam, when you look at it, they got 550. They scored nearly 800 runs in the test match.
Sure, Harmy.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I mean, they lost, but they scored nearly 800 runs. If England were to concede 800 runs in 10 test matches against India and Australia, they won't win many. No, so it just shows you how brilliant Rutan and Brook played in that first test match. You're right. We have to give them a huge amount of credit. I think the credit needs to be they've got a plan now, where before they were an absolute shambles. It was like we've got a captain and a coach who were going head to head with 27 selectors. Now, at least, as much as I don't believe their off-field stuff is the right way to go, taking Gillespie and taking Shan Masood out of the equation is always dangerous. I mean, not giving them the 11 just giving them an 11 to go on the field. That for me, that's dangerous. But hey, it's worked for these last test match and a half. They've now got a pitch that they can play on and get a result on. If you play on result pitches, you've got a 50-50 chance of winning. If you play on an absolute a road which you've got no chance of winning on, I mean, then all of a sudden the negative mindset, you're on the wrong end of a toss. Negative mindset. I mean, you're one bad half day session from losing the game. And that's what they've been in the last year and a bit. So fair play to them. Yes, you're right. They've got a plan, play on turning wickets, which they used to play on. The sooner they can get Babar Azam back into this team, the better, because it's a bit like the Ollie Pope thing. I mean, I would have Babar Azam. Babar Azam, if Babar Azam's English, he bats for England. He plays for England. Ain't no problem at all. Babar Azam's Australian. He plays for Australia. I mean, he plays for every national team that's going. But now Pakistan, because they weren't winning, they've got to find the scapegoat. I understood them dropping the 2 bowlers, because I wouldn't have had them 2 bowlers on these surfaces. The founder of spin bowlers, they've got a chance of taking 20 wickets. The sooner they can get their talisman, their best player that's played for Pakistan for a number of years, back in the team in Babar Azam, then they've got even better chance of winning games. But I don't think this game's finished yet. I really don't. While Joe's there,
what's the absolute bare minimum score England can defend on this wicket, do you think?
England can defend 100 on this.
100?
England, for me, yeah, I think if England get 3 figures in front, if England score 175 runs from here, and Pakistan have to get 124th innings, I think England will win. I really do think England will win. When you look at the Pakistan side over the course of this sort of series, you look at they've been bailed out a hell of a lot of times by numbers 9 and 10. I mean, one of the players at the top has got runs, and the other The others have capitulated, and numbers 9, 10, or 11 have scored a 20 or a 30, or in this case, they've got 240, 45 and a 48 to get them to 344. For me, if England can get 100, 120 in front and beyond, I think England can win this test match. I really do, because they've got the bowlers that can do it, and the ball's going to be, this time tomorrow, we could be talking about a famous England victory.
I mean, do you think the pitch has played? Do you think the pitch has played better than there's clearly been some assistance in it? And there was the Duckett dismissal very early on day one, which was a stinker. But do you think it's actually maybe hasn't spun and hasn't been as much uneven bounce as maybe we all thought there was going to be?
It's just been inconsistent, Sam. It's been inconsistent. It's not turned massively. It's not turned sharply. The odd one has. There's just been a lot of inconsistencies with the surface. But, I mean, much rather, in Test cricket, I'd much rather a pitch like this. I mean, I would. I mean, Multan first Test match, we should be playing white ball games on them pitches. I mean, it's about entertainment. White ball cricket, entertainment. You play on a flat one like Multan's first day and you smash it everywhere. 350 plus 350 in a 50-over game. Everybody's entertained. In a Test match, I want the ball to not dominate the bat, but I want it halfway through the Test match. It has to be
an even contest, doesn't it, Harmy?
Has to be a contest. So I've got no problem with this pitch. I actually think this pitch has been, it's been read well by both teams. Both got spin bowlers on it. They've both got a seamer on it. I thought Gus, to be fair to Gus, I thought Gus bowled quite well on it. Disciplines were good. His lines and lengths were very, very good. They've just had one player who's gone on and scored a big score and a couple of chances at the bottom who have taken advantage of a little bit of tiredness, and they've chanced their arm. I mean, if the two bowlers, I mean, if Norman Ali and Sajid Khan chip one up in the air and get 10 each, then all of a sudden England win quite comfortably. But they took the chance. They had a go. And again, I might be controversial here and say England are soft, but I think when England do become under real pressure, I don't think they're as mentally tough. I don't think they're as tough as what Ben Stokes is as a leader. I think Ben McCullum's leadership is. I think Ben Stokes is as a captain, as a character, is strong mentally, physically. I think his decision making is brilliant when it comes to leadership qualities. I think when it comes to his team, I don't think his team mirror Ben Stokes as much as what they possibly could do or should do, or they should do, because
that's the big problem, Harmy, right? How do you change that?
Top Test players, and I think when they're under pressure, and it's hard, like I said earlier, I'm not going to have a go at the bowlers because they're young, naive, and they're still learning their trade. And somebody can have a day out. But I think when it comes to the batting there tonight, 3 dismissals, indecision, 9 overs, again, under the utmost pressure of the surface, the condition, and everything that goes with it. Not sure we are as mentally tough as what we give the persona we give off.
And that's a problem, isn't it?
Well, it will be. It will be if it carries on when it comes to India and Australia, because we're going to have to get tougher and stronger. But I think when we're under real pressure, especially against spin, I think we struggle. And I think when, it's not the first time a tail end has been dangerous against us, and I mean has capitalised on us when somebody's chancing their arm and having a go. I think when we with the bat, Baz ball, and our approach with the bat is, puts pressure, the utmost pressure on the opposition. And when it comes good and it looks good, it's brilliant. Teams are running for the hills. You can see them just mentally capitulating in the middle. But I'm not sure we are like that when somebody comes and has a go at us. I don't think we've got the strategy. I don't think we've got mentally. I don't think we're calm under pressure. And that has happened too many times when it comes to the tail end getting runs. They're not soft. I just don't think, possibly waiting for somebody else to do it, possibly standing there and going, well, if I just put the ball, if I just put it here, they'll not carry on doing this. And sometimes you need to take the bull by the horns. That's where, like Anderson and Broad were very, very good at not panicking when somebody was coming at them and understanding. But that comes with time on the field. That comes with experience. And these lads are just young. So I'm loath to have a go at, but it's happening quite frequent now.
I tell you what, Harmy, England might have struggled today, but that was one of my favourite Steve Harmison podcasts. You've absolutely nailed that. You're in good form today, my friend. Harmy, you're a top man. Fingers crossed England can maybe do something tomorrow. England will resume on 24 for 3, trailing by 53 runs. New Zealand, by the way, on the verge of not on the verge, but in a great position to win the second test in India and complete an incredible series victory there. They resume tomorrow 198 for 5 with a lead of over 300 runs. Live commentary on talkSPORT 2 and the YouTube. Harmy, top man. We'll speak again very soon, my friend.
Thank you. And I am still backing England to win. England, for me, will win this test match.
He slagged them off for the last half an hour, but they're still going to win. I absolutely love that. Harmy, thank you very much. You've been listening to Following On
AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.